What if Tanjiro had half cold, half hot? Now, if you guys like My Hero Academia content, let me know down below. I'll make more and post it on my main channel. If you want straight MHA content, check out my second channel, shameless plug. But let's get into it. Tanjiro is born with the half cold, half hot quirk, just like Todoroki. He goes out to sell charcoal like usual, and when he comes back, the old man tells him demons are roaming and makes him stay the night. Tanjiro could technically get home faster using his ice, but that would stop the story right there, so he stays. When he returns the next morning, he finds his entire family massacred, with Nezuko being the only survivor. He grabs Nezuko and rushes to find help. He's way faster than normal thanks to his ice movement. That's when Giyu shows up. Tanjiro attacks with ice and fire, but Giyu dodges everything and immediately realizes something is very wrong. He knocks Tanjiro out and tells him to go to Urokodaki for training. Urokodaki sees Tanjiro's quirk and is completely weirded out. Tanjiro explains he's had it since birth and his family always thought it was normal. Urokodaki still teaches him water breathing, but he encourages Tanjiro to mainly use his ice for movement and control, since his fire isn't stable yet, so Tanjiro focuses more on ice than flames early on. At final selection, Tanjiro absolutely dominates. His flames aren't hot enough yet to fully incinerate demons, but his ice is busted. He moves faster by skating on ice, freezes demons in place, and finishes them easily. Against the hand demon, he freezes its arms completely and slices its head off. Final selection is effortless. After that, everything mostly follows the original timeline. He retrieves Nezuko, defeats the swamp demon, defeats the drum demon, and meets Inosuke and Zenitsu. Inosuke doesn't stand much of a chance against Tanjiro. Tanjiro can freeze him instantly or burn him, which just motivates Inosuke to get stronger. Then we reach Rui's mountain, where the biggest changes happen. Tanjiro can burn Rui's webs with fire, but he has to be careful not to hurt other demon slayers. The mother demon is dealt with the same way. When they fight the father demon, Tanjiro freezes it completely so it can't move, letting them deal with it later. Tanjiro uses his ice mobility to move across the mountain way faster and finds Nezuko quickly. When he fights Rui, he can use fire to force Rui into using his strongest webs right away. Even then, Tanjiro can overwhelm him by raising the heat and mixing in ice attacks. Tanjiro still ends up unlocking sun breathing, because water breathing alone isn't enough to kill Rui, but this time, he's not injured or exhausted. He cuts Rui's head off cleanly, without Giyu needing to step in. Now we get to the Hashira meeting. This time, the biggest issue isn't Nezuko, it's Tanjiro's quirk. The Hashira are more confused by his half-cold, half-hot power than a demon traveling with a human. They test to see if it's a blood demon art and confirm it isn't. When things get tense, Tanjiro can burn through restraints or freeze anyone who gets too close. Ubuyashiki, Giyu, and Urokodaki vouch for him, so Tanjiro and Nezuko are allowed to stay. And now we move into the Mugen Train arc. So everything basically happens the same in the Mugen Train arc. They all fall under Enmu's dream trap. Tanjiro and Inosuke go to fight Lower Moon 1, Enmu, while Rengoku, Nezuko, and Zenitsu protect the train. When the train derails, Tanjiro uses his ice to soften the impact, but he still gets stabbed. That part doesn't change much. And yeah, this timeline is still sad. Rengoku still dies. Tanjiro really can't do anything here. If he tries to fire off a huge ice attack, he risks freezing Rengoku along with Akaza. Same thing with fire. He doesn't want to hurt Rengoku even more. On top of that, Tanjiro just isn't strong enough yet to keep up with Akaza, so Rengoku still dies the same way. After that, Tanjiro goes back to training. He starts developing a new ice move called Glacier, similar to Todoroki's move from the sports festival in My Hero Academia. It's basically a massive ice output technique. He wants to learn Flashfire Fist, but he can't fully use it yet. Before the Entertainment District arc, Tanjiro goes on more missions. He works on regulating his body temperature using half cold, half hot, which lets him raise his heat output safely. His flames become way hotter, and he develops a weaker version of Flashfire Fist. It's not full power, but it's more focused, condensed flames, higher heat, short bursts instead of wide blasts. Now we get into the Entertainment District arc. They dress up as girls and go looking for Daki. I'm skipping straight to the part where Tanjiro is one-on-one with Daki, and his eyes turn red. Tengen, Zenitsu, and Inosuke are fighting the other half of Daki, the Belt Demon. This time, Daki is way easier for Tanjiro. Using Glacier, he can freeze her attacks completely. He traps her in ice, makes sure her head isn't frozen, and cuts it off clean. That's when Gyutaro breaks out of the ice, and just like in the original, he's insanely destructive. He immediately flattens most of the Entertainment District. Tanjiro gets blasted back, but he throws up an ice wall in time so the damage isn't fatal. Tengen realizes what's happening and goes straight to fight Gyutaro. Zenitsu and Inosuke focus on Daki, while Tanjiro is thrown back and has to rush to rejoin the fight. Once Tanjiro gets back with Tengen, he can only do the bare minimum at first, since he's been focusing so much on his half-cold, half-hot abilities. He hasn't trained his sword skills and sun breathing as much, so in pure combat that with a blade, he's a little weaker than before. That said, he still has sun breathing, he's still strong on his own, and he uses his ice to support himself. When one of Tengen's wives gets caught, Tanjiro shoots up using his ice, grabs her, and makes sure she's safe. When Tanjiro is fighting Daki alongside Zenitsu and Inosuke, Tengen still gets his arm cut off and has to stop his heart. Gyutaro doesn't trap everyone under the rubble this time because that already happened earlier. Zenitsu and Inosuke keep fighting Daki, while Tanjiro has to deal with Gyutaro. Once Tengen is out of the way, Tanjiro starts using more of his power, throwing massive amounts of ice and pushing his fire to the hottest output he can manage, even going beyond his limits. When Tengen's arm is severed, Tanjiro uses his fire to cauterize the wound, closing it so Tengen doesn't bleed out. Tanjiro buys time until Tengen finally gets back up, which surprises Tanjiro, and they start fighting Gyutaro together again, with Tanjiro's ice constantly slowing Gyutaro down, and Tanjiro himself getting weaker from how much power he's outputting. The fight turns into a pure endurance battle. Tanjiro pushes past his limits with his sword skills, unlocks his Demon Slayer mark, and together they kill Gyutaro. This time, Tanjiro does not get the sickle through his mouth. Zenitsu and Inosuke aren't buried under rubble. Inosuke isn't half dead, and they defeat Daki much more easily. After all that, Tanjiro goes back to training. So Tanjiro is not in a 3-month coma like before, after the Entertainment District arc. Because of that, he immediately starts working on Flash Fire Fist, pushing more output into it. As he goes on more missions, he finally reaches the point where he can incinerate a demon on his own. At the same time, he gains more ice output and way better control over his ice. He also works heavily on regulating his body temperature, and he eventually gets that down perfectly. That's when he figures out a new technique, Phosphor. This is the move Todoroki tried to master for months in My Hero Academia. It circulates cold and heat through the entire body at the same time. Fire no longer burns him, ice no longer freezes him, and his body stays in equilibrium. Tanjiro has a weaker version of this. It's not fully complete yet, but it's close. He also develops another move called Hell Spider, where fire forms around his fingertips and spreads out like burning webs. It's similar to the technique Endeavor uses. After that, Tanjiro keeps training for a couple of months and goes on more missions to improve his swordsmanship. Since he focused more on his quirk early on, his sword skills are weaker in this timeline, and his blade is actually pretty damaged, so he still needs to go to the Swordsmith Village to get a new sword. We'll skip most of the dialogue there. So after meeting Mitsuri, Muichiro, training with the Battle Doll, and meeting Genya, everyone is pretty surprised by Tanjiro's quirk and how strong it is. I'm going to skip straight to the part where Muichiro clamps Tanjiro's nose and Upper Moon 4 shows up. Muichiro still gets blasted away by the Wind Emotion Demon because nobody knew that attack was coming. After that, the emotion clones split into 4 once Genya and Nezuko jump in to help. Tanjiro realizes he can't fight all 4 at once, and neither can anyone else. So instead, he starts freezing them and taking them on one by one. This causes a lot of destruction. Houses get destroyed, and Nezuko does not end up trapped under the rubble this time. Tanjiro constantly pushes them back, using his new incinerating fire, Flash Fire Fist, and Hell Spider to keep distance, while also using ice to slow and trap them. Even though the clones keep breaking out because they're upper moons, Tanjiro pressures them so hard that they merge into the Wind Emotion clone much earlier to protect the main body. While Genya and Nezuko hold back the main emotion clone, Tanjiro burns through the forest and bushes to search for the real body. Mitsuri arrives, saves the village chief, and helps Tanjiro, Genya, and Nezuko hold back the main emotion clone together. Meanwhile, Muichiro fights Upper Moon 5, Gyoko. Everything there happens the same. The water prison, the new sword, and Muichiro killing Gyoko with his Demon Slayer mark. Muichiro then brings Tanjiro the sword and throws it to him. Tanjiro boosts himself with ice, reaches the main body, and kills Upper Moon 4. Some people might say Tanjiro could have just used ice to protect Nezuko from the sunlight, but that's one of the key moments of the arc. So, let's say Tanjiro never thought of that. And now we move into the Hashira training arc. So Tanjiro focuses on making sure all of his abilities are up to par before the Hashira training arc. Instead of training closely under one Hashira, he does more solo training because he needs to balance everything: his quirk, his breathing, and his stamina. He focuses more on core training than sword training, but his sword skill still ends up almost where it is in the original timeline. Then the Ubuyashiki family head dies. Muzan traps everyone inside the Infinity Castle, and we get Giyu and Tanjiro versus Akaza. In this fight, Tanjiro can actually keep up for a while using his ice and fire. At one point, he manages to keep Akaza locked in place by constantly burning him while his body is regenerating. Akaza has the fastest regeneration in the entire series, even faster than Kokushibo or Doma, because of how aggressive and close range his fighting style is. But once Tanjiro starts to weaken and can't keep the flames up, Akaza opens him up and nearly punches straight through him. Giyu steps in to save Tanjiro, and in that moment, Tanjiro unlocks his selfless state through memories of his father. father. With that, they finish off Akaza. Because Akaza is defeated much earlier, Tanjiro moves deeper into the Infinity Castle. He gets separated from Giyu due to Nakime's ability and ends up running into Upper Moon 2, Doma. By this point, Doma has already killed Shinobu, which adds more emotional weight to Kanao's story. But Doma's techniques are ice-based, which gives Tanjiro a massive advantage. Tanjiro burns through Doma's techniques, closes the distance, and kills him much faster. Because of that, Kanao doesn't have to destroy her eyesight, and Inosuke comes out of the fight in much better condition. Meanwhile, Giyu reaches the Upper Moon 1 fight. Muichiro and Genya still die, but Giyu helps Gyomei and Sanemi defeat Kokushibo. Kokushibo realizes the truth about his brother and dies the same way. The side battles play out the same. Zenitsu versus Kaigaku. Zenitsu wins with the 7th form Mitsuri, Obanai, and Yushiro versus Nakime. Yushiro takes control of her Muzan notices, kills Nakime, and Yushiro pulls everyone out of the Infinity Castle. Because Tanjiro isn't heavily injured this time, he's able to go straight to the front lines for the final battle. So when Tanjiro arrives at the final battle, the Hashira are already fighting Muzan. In this timeline, Muzan usually releases a huge blast that pushes the Hashira back, and that's what originally killed Mitsuri and caused a lot of them to lose limbs. But this time, since Tanjiro is there, he fires off a massive ice wall to block that blast. That alone saves a lot of lives, including Mitsuri. After that, as Muzan starts slowing down, Tanjiro uses Flashfire Fist to keep burning him non-stop and locking him in place. Muzan's regeneration keeps trying to keep up, but Tanjiro's fire output is too much. The more Muzan regenerates, the more Tanjiro burns him, and it slowly drains him all the way to sunrise. By the time the sun comes up, Muzan is already completely burned out, and the sunlight finishes him off. Because of that, Tanjiro never turns into the Demon King, and a lot more people are in much better condition. So in this timeline, Obanai and Mitsuri survive and get together. Giyu does not lose an arm. Gyomei doesn't lose any limbs, but he still dies because of the Demon Slayer mark. Since he's past 25, Muichiro, Shinobu, and Genya still die in the Infinity Castle. Giyu and Sanemi both survive, and that's how this timeline ends. I hope you guys liked this video. What if the breathing styles were real in Demon Slayer? I'm not going to explain every breathing style right now. I'll explain them naturally inside the story. As each Hashira shows up, I'll explain how their breathing style would work in real life. A lot of people ask how things like love breathing or serpent breathing could be realistic, but I have plans for that. So let's get into the story. Everything happens the same up until Tanjiro goes to Urokodaki's house to train. Once Tanjiro starts learning water breathing, this is where the first difference appears. Water breathing produces real water. The output is around 300 to 800 gallons per attack. The element only appears when the breathing style is used. Most of the time, Demon Slayers still fight with normal swordsmanship. Breathing styles are only used during intense moments. When water breathing is activated, the pressure is comparable to a fire hose or a small flood surge. The effect includes crushing force, slicing pressure, and knockback. The area is medium-wide, allowing battlefield control. After Tanjiro realizes how much water he's producing, he starts freaking out. He didn't even know demons were real before this, so seeing actual water come from his attacks feels insane to him. When Tanjiro fights Susamaru and Yahaba, water breathing helps more than before. We already saw him use Water Wheel to stop his fall, and now the added pressure makes that more believable. The water cushions impacts and helps with movement. Final selection mostly stays the same. Water breathing doesn't make Tanjiro overpowered, but it helps him survive better. The hand demon fight still happens, and the water only gives slight advantages. After that, Season 1 continues mostly the same, just with better mobility overall. Everything really starts changing at Mount Natagumo. Zenitsu stays back while Tanjiro and Inosuke move up the mountain. They help free the trapped demon slayers and reach the mother spider demon. They defeat her the same way. When they face the father spider demon, the fight is different. Beast breathing functions more like raw air pressure. It's similar to wind breathing, but more chaotic. Beast breathing produces powerful air slashes, reaching speeds between 200 and 400 miles per hour. With that pressure and speed, they defeat the father demon much easier. Tanjiro still gets blasted away afterward, leaving Inosuke behind. When Tanjiro faces Rui, nothing really changes at first. Water alone isn't enough. Rui's threads still overwhelm him. Once Tanjiro unlocks sun breathing, everything shifts. Sun breathing is far stronger than flame breathing. The heat output reaches around 3,000 to 4,000 degrees Celsius. That's hotter than a jet engine afterburner, and just below a plasma cutter. Rui's threads are extremely weak to heat. Tanjiro burns straight through them and decapitates Rui. Even with a broken sword, the heat output is enough to cut his head off. Giyu and Shinobu still arrive afterward, but the fight is already over. Zenitsu's fight also plays out the same. Thunder breathing produces real lightning. The voltage ranges from 50 to 100 million volts. Each move discharges multiple bursts lasting fractions of a second. The effects include burns, paralysis, and internal damage. The ground is left scorched, just like we see in the series. Zenitsu still wins with Shinobu finishing things using poison. After After that, we move into the Hashira meeting. Everything after that stays mostly the same, because the breathing styles being real don't change the overall story structure. Sanemi still stabs Nezuko, Ubuyashiki steps in and stops it, and Giyu and Urokodaki vouch for Tanjiro and Nezuko just like before. After that, we move straight into the Mugen Train arc. The Mugen Train arc plays out almost exactly the same, but the Demon Slayers are more adaptable now. Since the breathing styles actually output real elements, they rely on them more often in combat. Their movement is better, and their attacks do more direct damage to demons compared to the original series. They board the Mugen Train, fall into Enmu's dream trap, and everything unfolds the same way. Tanjiro and Inosuke fight Enmu, while Rengoku, Zenitsu, and Nezuko protect the passengers. Tanjiro and Inosuke kill Enmu, the train derails, and then Akaza appears. Now we get Rengoku versus Upper Moon 3, Akaza. Flame breathing outputs less heat than sun breathing, but it's still extremely powerful. Rengoku's flame breathing reaches around 1200 to 1600 degrees Celsius. Each slash creates fire arcs roughly 6 to 15 feet long, causing heavy burns, heat waves, and explosive impacts. His attacks leave scorched trails wherever they land. Because of this, Akaza takes Rengoku seriously right from the start. The Hashira of this era are extremely strong, especially compared to post-Sengoku fighters, and Rengoku represents one of the strongest generations since that time. Even though Rengoku still has room to grow, his raw power puts immense pressure on Akaza. Akaza fights seriously, and while Rengoku is still on the losing side overall, his flames constantly force Akaza to keep his distance. When Rengoku pushes past his limits, his Flame Tiger attack reaches an estimated heat of around 2000 to 2500 degrees Celsius. That's close to the lower range of sun breathing's heat output. At that level, Akaza can't get too close without taking serious damage, and landing a finishing blow becomes much harder. The constant burning pressure buys Rengoku more time than in the original timeline. Once Akaza realizes the sun is about to rise, he retreats toward the forest. Rengoku considers chasing him, but stops, knowing that continuing the fight would start a massive forest fire. Because of this, Akaza escapes, but Rengoku survives with severe injuries. With Rengoku alive, the emotional weight of the arc changes, and the story moves forward into the Entertainment District arc. I'm going to skip most of the dialogue here. They dress up as girls and eventually find Upper Moon 6, Daki. I'm going to skip straight to the main fights. Tanjiro ends up fighting Daki one-on-one, while Tengen, Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Tengen's wives fight the other half of Daki, the Belt Demon. This is a good time to explain sound breathing. Sound breathing creates powerful shockwaves rather than elemental flames. Its shockwave range is around 15 to 30 feet, and the sound levels can reach 180 to over 200 decibels, which is strong enough to rupture organs and cause internal damage. Thunder breathing is different from sound breathing. Thunder breathing focuses on raw speed and lightning discharge. The voltage output is around 50 to 100 million volts, with temperatures reaching about 30,000 degrees Celsius, the same as real lightning. Each strike lasts around 0.1 seconds and creates a speed burst that's faster than the human eye can track. Now, with Tanjiro using sun breathing, his normal flame output is already extremely high. This is still incomplete sun breathing, so it's slightly weaker than full sun breathing, but it's still comparable to Rengoku's Flame Tiger at its peak. Tanjiro's base heat output sits around 2,500 to 3,500 degrees Celsius, and when he pushes past his limits, it spikes to roughly 4,000 to 5,500 degrees Celsius. During Tanjiro versus Daki, her belts don't do much damage. The heat from his sun breathing is so intense that the belts start burning away before they can even reach him. Because of this, Tanjiro slices off Daki's head much more easily this time. He never reaches the red-eyed state where he thinks he's not special, and the fight is far cleaner overall. Daki immediately goes into full power, which causes Gyutaro to emerge much earlier. When Tanjiro fights Gyutaro, his sun-breathing heat output forces Gyutaro to stay on the defensive. He can't get close without taking heavy burn damage. Tanjiro can't maintain that level forever though, so he eases off and buys time until Tengen, Inosuke, and Zenitsu arrive, and the full fight begins. Now, the main thing with all these breathing styles being real is that they're extremely hard to control. If Tanjiro gets too close to Tengen while using sun breathing, he could actually end up burning him. Tengen, on the other hand, has fully mastered sound breathing. As a Hashira, he understands what every breathing style does, how dangerous they are, and how to fight around them. With his explosions and sound control, he's able to keep things balanced. When Tengen is fighting Gyutaro, they're almost on the same level. Sound breathing doesn't do massive damage to a demon, but it does create shockwaves strong enough to damage organs, throw opponents off balance, and create openings. It's not as destructive as sun breathing, but it's still effective. For Inosuke and Zenitsu, they also have to be careful. Inosuke's movements and pressure attacks help push Daki's belts away and disrupt her control. Zenitsu is so fast that most people can't even see him move. Only demons can barely track him. We already know Kokushibo needed 6 eyes just to track Yoichi Yoruichi, so Daki would need insane perception to keep up with Zenitsu, especially now that breathing styles give everyone a speed boost. Because of this, Zenitsu and Inosuke are able to take down Daki much more easily in this timeline. She's also still suffering burn damage from Tanjiro's sun breathing, which makes it even harder for her to fight back. Tanjiro can't fully help Tengen without risking burning him, so he mostly provides support and pressure. Near the end of the fight, Gyutaro tries to interfere, but he's already being pushed back by Tengen and Tanjiro. When Gyutaro is finally on the brink, Tengen holds him in place and tells Tanjiro to go for the strike, even if it burns him. Tanjiro uses his weakest burn and cuts off Gyutaro's head. Tengen still takes heavy burns, but he doesn't lose an arm in this timeline. After Daki and Gyutaro are killed, Nezuko burns away the poison and saves everyone like usual. This time, Tanjiro doesn't fall into a 3-month coma. Instead, he keeps training non-stop, refining his sun breathing. His heat output doesn't increase much since it's already near the limit, but his control improves a lot. With that, we move into the Swordsmith Village arc. Now I'm going to skip most of the dialogue for the Swordsmith Village arc. Tanjiro meets Mitsuri, Genya, and Muichiro, and trains with the Yoruichi type Zero doll, just like normal. I'm going to skip straight to the part where Muichiro clamps Tanjiro's nose and Upper Moon Force shows up. Genya still doesn't really have a breathing style. People joke and call it America breathing because of the gun, but that part stays the same. Once the fight starts, Muichiro still gets blasted away, and this is where his breathing style really matters. Mist breathing creates a wide area of thick, cold vapor that covers dozens of feet, drops visibility to almost nothing, and slows enemy reactions. While the mist is active, Muichiro can move at extreme speed while staying completely hidden. Tanjiro, on the other hand, can handle all 4 emotion clones by himself. With his Demon Slayer mark active, he doesn't struggle nearly as much. He incinerates most of them since they're weaker bodies, and he never really gets overwhelmed by the sound emotion clone either. While Genya and Nezuko search for the main body and fail to find it, Tanjiro switches roles and starts searching himself. Because of how hot his breathing style is, he almost ends up burning down most of the forest in the process. That's when Mitsuri returns. She saves the village chief and holds off the combined emotion clone. This is a good moment to explain love breathing. Love breathing isn't full fire like flame breathing. It creates heated, ribbon-like energy that's extremely flexible, wide-reaching, and fast. The attacks curve, stretch, and strike from unpredictable angles, making it perfect for crowd control and constant pressure rather than raw destruction. Meanwhile, Muichiro fights Upper Moon 5, Gyoko. His mist techniques overwhelm Gyoko, slowing him down and completely removing his vision advantage. After escaping the water prison and receiving his new sword, Muichiro unlocks the Demon Slayer mark and kills Gyoko. Once that happens, Muichiro retrieves Tanjiro's sword and throws it to him. Tanjiro catches it and decapitates the main body of Upper Moon 4. Nezuko still becomes immune to sunlight in this arc. Everyone ends the battle in far better condition than in the original timeline, but they're also much stronger because the breathing styles are real and the Demon Slayer marks are active. From here, the story moves into the Hashira training arc. Now for the Hashira training arc, the main thing that changes is Tanjiro is already strong right from the start. Rengoku takes a lot of pressure off Muichiro by helping teach swordsmanship and breathing control to the others, especially the basics. Other than that, nothing major changes. Tanjiro still learns everything he learns in the Hashira training arc, and the arc mostly plays out the same. After that, the Ubuyashiki family head dies when Muzan blows up the estate, and everyone gets dragged into the Infinity Castle. This is where the matchups change. This time, it's Rengoku and Tanjiro versus Akaza. With Tanjiro's sun breathing and Rengoku's flame breathing both producing extreme heat, they don't have to worry about hurting each other. Their attacks constantly incinerate Akaza, forcing his regeneration to work non-stop. The combined pressure from sun and flame breathing overwhelms him, and once Akaza almost regenerates his head, he realizes he was wrong and chooses to kill himself. Next is Upper Moon 2, Doma. Shinobu, Giyu, Kanao, and Inosuke fight him. This is a good place to explain Shinobu's fighting style. She uses ultra-fast needle thrusts with no decapitation, injecting large amounts of poison per hit. Her strikes are focused on speed and precision, not raw power. In this timeline, Shinobu is stronger because her poison is more effective on demons, including Doma, making it harder for him to counteract. Giyu is also extremely strong here, using massive amounts of water to counter Doma's ice techniques. Inosuke supports with his aggressive attacks, and Kanao uses her flower breathing for precise finishing strikes. Together, they defeat Doma. Now we move to Upper Moon 1, Kokushibo. Muichiro is able to hold his own much better than in the original timeline. He isn't instantly overwhelmed, and Kokushibo struggles more because mist breathing makes it harder to track Muichiro's position, even with 6 eyes. Genya helps when he consumes Kokushibo's flesh, giving the team openings. Muichiro still takes heavy damage, but he doesn't lose a hand or get instantly taken out. Gyome and Sanemi arrive, back him up, and together they defeat Kokushibo. Kokushibo ultimately chooses to die after realizing the truth about himself. The side battles happen next. Zenitsu versus Kaigaku goes mostly the same. same, but Zenitsu takes less damage and still wins with the 7th form. Yushiro, Obanai, and Mitsuri versus Nakime also plays out the same. Yushiro takes control of Nakime and the Infinity Castle. Muzan realizes this, kills Nakime, and Yushiro uses the castle to get everyone out. This time, no one dies in the Infinity Castle arc. Now we get to the Sundown Countdown arc, when Muzan releases that massive blast that normally pushes everyone back, rips off limbs, and kills multiple Hashira. This time, it doesn't hit nearly as hard. Because the breathing styles are real in this timeline, many of them can counteract the force. Mist breathing and love breathing are the hardest to deal with here, but flame, wind, and water breathing can also resist or redirect a lot of the impact. This is a good time to explain wind breathing, used by Sanemi Shinazugawa. Wind breathing creates real cutting air, launching 300 to 500 mile-per-hour wind blades with wide, chaotic arcs. These attacks shred targets from a distance, apply heavy pressure damage, and are extremely hard to predict or block because of constant movement. Stone breathing, used by Gyome Himejima, generates real stone and seismic force. Each strike moves massive amounts of earth, sending shockwaves through the ground, cracking terrain, and throwing debris everywhere. It's slower, but almost impossible to stop, and it controls the battlefield through pure power. Because of this, the Hashira are in far better shape during the fight. This is also where serpent breathing, used by Obanai Iguro, really shines. His attacks curve mid-air, constantly change angles, and slip past defenses to strike blind spots. It's all about precision rather than raw strength. With Muzan slowed down by the drug, Tanjiro steps in and starts incinerating him with sun breathing, keeping constant pressure on Muzan and preventing him from escaping. Together with the Hashira, they hold Muzan in place until sunrise. This time, Tanjiro never becomes the Demon King. After the battle, Obanai and Mitsuri survive and are able to be together. Most of the Demon Slayers still carry the Demon Slayer mark, meaning many of them only live until age 25. Muichiro survives, but still only lives until 25. Shinobu and Giyu get together. Shinobu lives out her life, while Giyu eventually dies around 25. Sanemi survives like usual. Gyome still dies because he was already past 25 when the mark activated. That's basically how everything plays out in this timeline. What if Tanjiro became the Demon King from the start? There isn't really a clean explanation for this, because in the original timeline, Tanjiro only becomes the Demon King after Muzan is basically dying and passes it on to him. That's why he had control over all demons and gained that level of power. There's no realistic way for him to have that power from the beginning, so for this what if, we're just going to say he had it from the start and always had it. This immediately changes the entire story. After Tanjiro comes back from selling coal and finds his family killed, that's when his Demon King powers fully awaken. Nezuko still becomes a demon, but she breaks out of Muzan's control, just like in the original timeline. The difference is that Tanjiro, as the Demon King, already knows exactly how to help her and stop her from rampaging. Instead of panicking or looking for help, he keeps her under control himself. The biggest change here is Giyu. When Giyu encounters Tanjiro, Tanjiro doesn't need to hide in the dark like Muzan did. He's a far better version of Muzan, with all of the Demon King abilities, but without the fear or instability. He can control demons, create them, command them, and manipulate his body just like Muzan. On top of that, he already has full knowledge of sun breathing, just like he did at the end of the original timeline. Tanjiro keeps his personality though. He's still kind, still calm, and he doesn't want to kill anyone. When Giyu tries to fight him, Tanjiro holds back massively. The only person who could realistically challenge Demon King Tanjiro would be Yoriichi Tsugikuni, and even Muzan couldn't compete with Yoriichi. Tanjiro is closer to Muzan's level, but higher, while Yoriichi is still naturally stronger because of his stamina and skill. During the fight with Giyu, Tanjiro doesn't try to win. He toys with him, deflects his attacks, reshapes his body, and uses abilities similar to Muzan's flesh manipulation. He could easily kill Giyu, but he doesn't. Instead, he restrains him briefly, flings him away, and escapes with Nezuko. From that moment on, the entire Demon Slayer story is flipped upside down. Tanjiro's first destination would be Lady Tamayo. Since this version of Tanjiro has Demon King powers and his memories from the original timeline, he already knows she's the best option. At this point, no one in the verse can really beat him, so he's almost like Saitama in this world. He brings Nezuko to Tamayo's house to get help and understand what's happening. Because Tanjiro became the Demon King through Muzan's blood, his blood is extremely similar to Muzan's, even though he's his own Demon King. Tamayo immediately realizes how valuable this is. She starts studying his blood much earlier than in the original timeline, but she still needs Shinobu's help since Shinobu was a huge part of her research. This creates tension with the Demon Slayer Corps. Tamayo was already controversial as a demon, but now there's a Demon King involved, one who hasn't hurt anyone. The Master would hesitate, wondering how the Hashira would react to this. Giyu, especially, would be conflicted. He already fought Tanjiro once and got flung away, so from his perspective, Tanjiro feels dangerous, even if he isn't evil. After leaving Tamayo's house, Tanjiro and Nezuko don't need to hide. They can walk in daylight, and unlike Muzan, they're both immune to the sun. Tanjiro has all of Muzan's ability, including the power to transform his appearance and go undercover if he he wants. He could infiltrate the Demon Slayer core, but that idea feels wrong to him, so he saves it as a last resort. Instead, Tanjiro does what feels right. He hunts demons. With his speed, strength, and sensing abilities, tracking demons is easy. He keeps in contact with Tamaya and promises the same thing as the original timeline. If he defeats an upper moon, he'll bring back a blood sample. He starts hunting seriously, focusing on upper moons rather than lower demons. Some upper moons are hard to locate. Gyoko is elusive, and Kokushibo's movements are unknown. He could be anywhere in Japan, but Upper Moon 6 is more active and closer to populated areas. Tanjiro figures that's the best place to start. Because of his Demon King powers, what would normally take days or weeks only takes him about a day. He reaches the entertainment district without being noticed, fully disguised, no longer tied to the events of Season 1. In this timeline, Tanjiro isn't a Demon Slayer at all. He's something else entirely, and that's where he encounters Upper Moon 6 first. Now, when Tanjiro senses Upper Moon 6, he goes straight to her and cuts off Daki's head. Now, people might ask, how does he even get a Demon Slayer sword? He probably finds one, steals one, or does whatever he has to do to get one. Since he can transform super fast, it's pretty easy for him to get a sword. He slices off Daki's head in a quick second using breathing. And because of his past memories, he already knows Gyutaro is going to come out, so he saves all the people around him first. He does something similar to what Muzan did in the Infinity Castle. He forms himself into a kind of ball and makes sure Gyutaro can't unleash that massive attack on the entertainment district, the one that levels everything. While doing that, he slices Gyutaro's neck at the same time. This saves a lot of people's lives, and also saves Tengen, meaning Tengen never retires in this timeline. That alone changes a lot, because one of Tengen's main goals was retiring, and now that never happens. Tanjiro also saves Tengen's wives, and helps them get to safety. Once everything is handled, he leaves. This creates something weird for Tengen. He's going to hear about this later. A strange demon slayer helped them, and killed an upper moon demon. That alone puts Tanjiro on the Demon Slayer Corps' radar. Giyu probably doesn't even realize it was Tanjiro. Giyu never saw Tanjiro's breathing styles here. He only saw him briefly in combat, and getting thrown by those flesh-like attacks before. So Tanjiro leaves the entertainment district quietly, and continues hunting more demons. Now after that, he goes into full detective mode, because he needs to figure out more about the whereabouts of the upper moon demons. The two that seem the most out in the open are Doma and Kokushibo, because we don't really know what Upper Moon 4 or Upper Moon 5 do during the night. They probably eat a lot of humans too, but there's no clear pattern. Kokushibo feels more widespread though. He's clearly destroying villages and eating large numbers of humans at once, and nobody can really stop him. On the other hand, there's Doma and his cult. That's a huge giveaway, because there are rumors about people going missing and humans being eaten through that group. Because of Shinobu's background and what happened to her sister, Tanjiro knows Doma is important. Shinobu's family is already somewhat connected to the Demon Slayer Corps, so it makes sense that Doma's hideout wouldn't be that far away, maybe a few hours from where the Demon Slayer Corps operates. Tanjiro starts looking into that, and eventually finds Doma's cult. When Demon King Tanjiro arrives, he senses a demon immediately. Doma doesn't look like a demon at first, because he's good at hiding it, but the presence is obvious. Tanjiro knows for sure Doma is a demon. He waits until night to make his move. At the same time, Doma senses something is wrong. He can tell there's another Demon King nearby. Because Tanjiro has all his memories from the original timeline, he knows exactly who Doma is. He knows Doma killed Shinobu's sister, and eventually Shinobu herself. He takes that personally, and makes sure Doma can't escape once the fight starts. When night comes, they fight. Tanjiro is far stronger, and Doma can't run away, so he's forced to stay and fight, but Muzan is already aware that something strange happened. Through Gyutaro's death, Muzan sensed that someone extremely strong with sun breathing was involved, so Muzan is already on alert. Before Doma is killed, Muzan interferes. Using Nakimi's blood demon art, Doma is pulled away into the Infinity Castle. That changes everything. Tanjiro didn't know that was going to happen, and by the time he realizes it, the portal closes too fast. Tanjiro is left outside, furious with himself. He's angry that he let Doma escape, and that he didn't follow him into the Infinity Castle. The portal shuts instantly, and there's nothing he can do. Now Tanjiro knows he needs a better plan. He realizes the only way to get consistent information on the upper moons is through the Demon Slayer Corps, so he keeps researching, gathering information, and tracking demon activity, all while knowing one thing for sure. He doesn't want Shinobu to die. Now in the Infinity Castle, Doma is still joking around like his usual self, but he tells Muzan that the presence he felt was very similar to his. The strength, the pressure, everything. Muzan realizes this because he was watching through Doma's eyes during the fight. Tanjiro has all the same traits, but his blood demon art is different. His blood is fused with flames. If you've seen my video, what if Tanjiro and Nezuko became upper moon demons? Then you already know what his blood demon art. It's basically breathing that lets him produce real flames. Doma tells Muzan that Tanjiro feels like a stronger version of him. Muzan gets furious and says no one is stronger than him. All that usual stuff. On the other side, Tanjiro is frustrated. He knows he has to move carefully carefully now, especially at night, before anyone realizes he fought Doma. He continues searching, but now he knows everyone is on guard. Muzan warns all the upper moons about a Demon Slayer level threat that rivals even them. Kokushibo is especially interested. He hears that this person is using sun breathing and wonders if it could be Yorichi. Even though Yorichi died long ago, the idea still bothers him. Kokushibo wants to fight Tanjiro. The other upper moons are cautious too. Muzan also decides not to kill the lower moons in this timeline because he feels like he needs all the help he can get. Muzan calls an upper moon meeting. They talk about how upper moon 6 was killed and what to do about Demon King Tanjiro. Meanwhile, Tanjiro realizes he won't be able to hunt upper moons easily anymore. They know he exists and they won't fight him alone. So he switches to a backup plan, going to the Demon Slayer core. Not infiltrating exactly. The core already knows about Tamayo, and the master already knows of Tanjiro through her. Tamayo knows Muzan's strength better than anyone, and she believes Tanjiro is stronger. Tanjiro goes alone, without Nezuko. He doesn't want her getting attacked by the Demon Slayers. He seals his presence as much as he can, but the Hashira notice him immediately, especially Giyu. Before the master can speak, the Hashira rush Tanjiro and try to kill him. Tanjiro doesn't fight back seriously. He uses Muzan-like tentacles to restrain them all. Even Gyome can't overpower him. He holds them in place until the master orders everyone to stop. The master explains that Tanjiro is not an enemy. Most of the Hashira still don't trust him at all and want nothing to do with him. Then Tengen speaks up. He says he recognizes Tanjiro. He's the demon who saved his wives and killed Upper Moon 6 in the entertainment district. That shocks the Hashira. Tengen confirms it. His wives described Tanjiro perfectly. Because of that, Tanjiro is allowed to stay. Not as a Hashira, not as a demon slayer, but as an ally, a demon who chose to help humanity. Now, a lot of people are probably wondering, what about Rengoku and the Mugen Train? And what happened to Inosuke and Zenitsu? So this part is just to help everyone understand how the timeline is laid out. In this timeline, Inosuke and Zenitsu still become friends, and everything still happens up through Rui's mountain. Giyu and Shinobu still show up, and the lower moon is still killed. That part of the story does not change. Now for the Mugen Train. The arc mostly plays out the same, but there is one major difference. Akaza never shows up. The reason Akaza doesn't appear has nothing to do with Tanjiro or Rengoku. In the original story, Akaza wasn't sent there to fight them. He was searching for the blue spider lily, which Muzan ordered him to find. He just happened to encounter Rengoku and Tanjiro after Enmu was defeated. In this timeline, Akaza is busy dealing with other matters, and the upper moons are already being gathered because of Demon King Tanjiro. Muzan is focused on a much bigger problem, so Akaza never goes to the Mugen Train at all. Because of that, Rengoku protects the train and kills Lower Moon 1, Enmu, without Akaza ever interfering. The train is saved, and Rengoku survives without that final battle. So with that explained, we now cut back into the current timeline. Now, just because the Hashira accept Tanjiro doesn't mean they like him. They don't really talk to him, and there's still a lot of tension. But Tanjiro understands that. Instead of trying to win them over, he goes straight to the master and tells him everything. Tanjiro explains the Demon Slayer mark in full detail, how it activates, what it does to the body, and the cost of using it. He tells the master everything he knows because he has all his memories from the original timeline. He also explains that Shinobu is needed to work with Tamayo, and that together they can start working on a way to turn him back into a human. But the master is honest with him. He says that right now, they still need Tanjiro's strength to defeat Muzan Kibutsuji. With that information, the master starts preparing the Hashira much earlier. The Demon Slayer mark is explained to them ahead of time, and training for it begins far sooner than in the original timeline. This happens around the time the entertainment district arc would have taken place, but in this timeline, things are already moving faster. Tanjiro already has his mark, so instead of training for it, he goes out on more missions, gathering information and eliminating demons wherever he can. Muzan notices this shift. He starts holding Kokushibo back because he doesn't want the upper moons wiped out too early. He knows something is coming. The master also knows his time is running out, and he understands that his sacrifice is still necessary. Muzan would never expose himself unless the master revealed his location, just like in the original timeline. When Muzan finally appears, the plan unfolds differently, but the outcome is similar. The master dies, triggering the explosion and trapping Muzan. This time, Demon King Tanjiro faces Muzan directly. Tanjiro slices off Muzan's head, just like Gyome did in the original timeline, but the situation is completely different because Muzan is prepared for sun breathing and Tanjiro's presence. Muzan doesn't want to deal with Tanjiro himself for long. He wants his upper moons to handle it. Inside the Infinity Castle, it's said that the demons present are all at least lower moon level, but in this timeline, the lower moons are much closer to upper moon strength. There are more demons overall, and they immediately clash with the Hashira across the battlefield. Because of this, the Swordsmith Village arc never happens the same way. The Hashira training arc happens earlier instead, and by the time the Swordsmith Village events would normally occur, everyone has already been dragged into the Infinity Castle. Now, with the battlefield set, we can move into the matchups and see how everything plays out. Now, once they're inside the Infinity Castle, Tanjiro immediately tries to go after Muzan. But just like how Sukuna used Mahoraga against Gojo, Muzan does the same thing in his own way. He calls Nakime, the Biwa woman, and has her teleport him away so he can recover from Tamayo's poison. After that, Tanjiro falls through the Infinity Castle. Tamayo already knows where Nakime would send him, and Tanjiro lets it happen. He drops straight into a one-on-one fight with Kokushibo. No interruption, just them. Kokushibo is the only demon who truly rivals Demon King Tanjiro. In raw strength, speed, and combat ability, Kokushibo is on Muzan's level. This turns into the biggest fight in the entire story. Tanjiro doesn't want anyone getting in the way. He tells the demon slayers who arrive to stay back and go fight elsewhere while he handles Kokushibo alone. The fight is insane. Tanjiro uses sun breathing at full power, moving at extreme speeds. Kokushibo, with his 6 eyes, can actually keep up with him. They're cutting off each other's limbs, clashing blood demon arts, and trading blows non-stop. It's just pure combat, no holding back. Eventually, Tanjiro overwhelms Kokushibo. He slices off his eyes and corners him. Kokushibo realizes that all his strength was meaningless in the end. Only the sun can truly kill him. And facing Tanjiro's sun breathing and those earrings, he finally accepts it. He thinks of his brother, lets go of his hatred, and dies. After that, the focus shifts to the rest of the Infinity Castle. Doma, Akasa, Upper Moon 4, Upper Moon 5, and the remaining lower moons are all fighting the Hashira across the battlefield. Also, Kaigaku never becomes a demon in this timeline. Upper Moon 1 never went to that village, so Kaigaku stays human. He still fights alongside the demon slayers, but he's a coward, and he ends up dying anyway. After that, the Upper Moon 2 fight with Doma still happens mostly the same. Shinobu, Kanao, and Inosuke are fighting him, but before Shinobu actually dies, Tanjiro flies in and saves her. Shinobu is still on the brink of death though, with collapsed lungs and severe injuries, so she's laid down and can't fight anymore. Now we move on to the rest of the Upper Moon fights. Upper Moon 3, Akasa, is handled by Gyome and Sanemi in a straight 2 versus 1. No Hashira ever fought Akasa before in this timeline, but these two are the strongest. Between overwhelming force and Akasa remembering his past after his head is cut off, he ends up killing himself just like in the original timeline. Upper Moon 4, Hantengu, is fought by Muichiro, Genya, and Giyu. One of them holds back the main emotion clone, while Giyu goes after the real body. Genya helps wherever he can, and once the main body is killed, the entire demon goes down. Upper Moon 5, Gyoko, is taken out by Muichiro and Obanai. Muichiro already defeated him alone in the original timeline, and Obanai is one of the strongest Hashira, so together they kill him without too much trouble, even without the Demon Slayer mark. After that, Muichiro and Obanai help Yushiro deal with Nakime. Yushiro manages to take control of the Infinity Castle, but once Muzan realizes everything is collapsing, he kills Nakime himself. Yushiro still manages to get everyone out of the Infinity Castle. Now we move into the final phase. Most of the Hashira are still alive, and many of them never unlocked the Demon Slayer mark in this timeline. The only ones who truly needed it were Sanemi and Gyome, since the hardest fight for the Hashira was Akaza. Tanjiro already took care of Upper Moon 1 and Upper Moon 2. Shinobu is badly injured and can't fight anymore, but she's alive and being treated. Tengen was still fighting lower moon level demons during all of this, since Nakimi wasn't taken over until later. He held them back so they couldn't interfere with the Upper Moon battles. Everyone gets separated as the Infinity Castle collapses, and we enter the Sunrise Countdown arc. Tanjiro and Muzan finally face each other directly. Muzan is already weakened by Tamayo's poison, and Tanjiro is simply stronger. The fight is completely one-sided. Tanjiro kills Muzan outright, without the Hashira even needing to step in. The only person who dies that night is Gyome. Because he's past the age of 25 and has the Demon Slayer mark, he passes away just like Kokushibo said in the original timeline. So with that, Obanai and Mitsuri still get together, and they live long lives since they never received the Demon Slayer mark. Because of that, they don't die at 25 and get to live full lives together. The same goes for Mitsuri. She doesn't die young in this timeline and gets to live a long, happy life. Shinobu also survives and ends up with Giyu. Since neither of them gets the Demon Slayer mark, they both live long lives as well. Most of the Hashira survive in this timeline. Tengen gets to live out his normal life and fully retire, and unlike the original timeline, he doesn't lose an arm, and his body isn't permanently damaged. Overall, this timeline turns out really well. It's long, it's detailed, and honestly, it's better than a lot of the other timelines I've made. So make sure to like and subscribe. If you guys want to support me, hit the join button down below so you can get videos like this early. What if Demon Slayer had JJK's power system? Now, I thought this video was obviously going to be really hard to make, so I kind of scrapped the full idea, deleted the post, but then I decided, what if Demon Slayer had domain expansions? And that idea got picked out on my new newest post. So, I decided just to say f it and try my hardest to make a Demon Slayer timeline with all this. I'm gonna explain all the abilities as we go, but they're basically gonna have close to the same abilities as JJK, because that's how JJK really works, and the 3 clans are not gonna be in here, so the Gojo clan and Zenin clan are obviously not included, and curses are not gonna be in here either, which is a big part of JJK's power system, but this makes it easier on me. So there are only demons and humans can use cursed techniques. You still have to kill demons with Nichiren blades, and breathing styles still exist, and all the Hashira have domain expansions and their own techniques. So let's get right into this. So Tanjiro's innate technique is basically one of my favorites. His technique lets him use all of his memories at once and all of his skills at once, basically entering the zone perfectly and knowing everything perfectly. He would know some breathing from his dad perfectly, and anything he learns, he analyzes instantly. That's Tanjiro's technique. So Tanjiro and Giyu fight. Giyu doesn't fully use his technique or anything else, because he didn't even use breathing in the original fight with Tanjiro. Tanjiro still uses the axe, and he still doesn't know his technique yet. So he goes to Urokodaki. He learns water breathing, but with his technique, he learns it instantly. After Urokodaki teaches him how to use cursed energy and explains his natural technique really well, Tanjiro gets it immediately. He transfers all the information he's seen and can activate it anytime. If he sees Urokodaki do water wheel, he can perfectly replicate it instantly in his mind, since he has a photographic memory. So since his cursed technique is unlocked, he already understands sun breathing. He saw his dad use it, so it feels natural to him. He can enter the selfless state whenever he wants now, since his cursed technique works with his memories. He goes through season 1 of the series, the final selection, and everything happens basically the same all the way up to Rui's mountain. Tanjiro stays calmer here, and since Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke go up the mountain together, they help the Demon Slayers more effectively. Now this is the perfect time to talk about Inosuke's technique. His technique is body manipulation. It's similar to blood manipulation in name only, not function. He can manipulate anything in his body, harden it, control his organs, and push it further than the original timeline. He controls his nervous system too. So Tanjiro and Inosuke fight together. Tanjiro moves perfectly, staying close to the selfless state, dodging almost anything. None of them have reverse curse technique yet. They fight the father spider demon. Tanjiro kicks the boss away, while Inosuke fights him head on. This time, Inosuke and the father demon are more evenly matched. Tanjiro goes on to fight Rui. Using sun breathing, Tanjiro grabs Nezuko and protects her. His sword doesn't break, because he's far more skilled in this timeline and wouldn't make that mistake. With his memories, he analyzes Rui instantly with his cursed technique and kills him almost immediately. This puts Tanjiro above Hashira level. To put this into perspective, since everyone now has cursed techniques, it's similar to blood demon arts. In this timeline, one Hashira is on par with an upper moon. Now we go to Zenitsu versus the spider demon. This one's easier to explain. Zenitsu's technique is basically Kashimo's. If you're watching Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3, you know what I mean? His cursed energy acts like electricity and builds up over time. When Zenitsu falls asleep, he can use the full strength of his cursed technique. His energy discharges all at once, letting him move at lightning speed and strike with massive power. The downside is that it heavily damages his body, so he's meant to win fast. Since Giyu and Shinobu arrive, they don't really need to influence Tanjiro or take control of the situation. The Hashira meeting begins. After that, Tanjiro has no reason to go to the Mugen Train because he already has full access to his memories through his photographic memory and his cursed technique working together. Anything he sees, he learns instantly, and he can remember everything in his entire life since he was a baby. He remembers his dad learning techniques and showing them instantly, so he's a far better learner with a far better memory. Because of this, he already knows where everything really came from, so he doesn't need to ask Rengoku any questions. So Rengoku goes to the Mugen Train, kills Lower Moon 1, the train still derails, and then Rengoku still fights Akaza. Now this is totally different, since Rengoku is now upper moon level because he has a cursed technique and a domain. Rengoku's cursed technique is an inherited one. I took inspiration from multiple things because we saw inside his soul, and Akaza talked about his extremely sharp fighting spirit. So his technique works where the tougher the battle gets, the stronger his flames become. Each time he gets hit or pushed, his fire ramps up more and more. His body gets tougher, and his technique begins pulling in cursed energy, which Akaza relies on to fight. Everything has cursed energy in this timeline, including demons, so Akaza is always producing it. Because of that, the two are evenly matched for a while. Rengoku keeps draining cursed energy from Akaza, and Akaza realizes they can't stay too close for long. Eventually, they decide to use a battle of domains. Rengoku's domain burns cursed energy itself. Once you're fully inside, the air starts to evaporate, making it extremely hard to breathe. It constantly drains cursed energy from anyone inside, except for Rengoku himself. Akaza has lived far longer, so his domain is naturally stronger. He wins the domain clash and lands a massive hit on Rengoku. Rengoku is pushed to the brink of death and has to keep using reverse curse technique just to stay alive. Akaza also has reverse curse technique through instant regeneration. He attacks again, but Rengoku's cursed technique activates once more, his flames growing stronger despite his injuries. Even though Rengoku survives, he still isn't stronger than Akaza. The sun rises, forcing Akaza to retreat. Rengoku survives the fight and returns home, reporting what it's like to battle an upper moon. There's nothing especially shocking to report, since everyone now operates under the same JJK-style power system. Now after that, Tanjiro trains up and goes on more missions. I'm not saying he's insanely more evolved in this timeline, but overall, he's clearly stronger. Everything still happens, and we move into the entertainment district with Inosuke and Zenitsu, trying to find Upper Moon 6. In this arc, most of the dialogue is still about the girls. They eventually find Upper Moon 6. Tanjiro fights Daki, while Tengen, Inosuke, and Zenitsu split off. Zenitsu and Inosuke fight Daki together, and she has a hard time keeping up. Zenitsu's speed and Inosuke's strength make them one of the perfect duos. Meanwhile, Tengen and Tanjiro go down the same path and fight Gyutaro. Now let's talk about Tengen's domain and curse technique. In the middle of the fight, Tengen tells Tanjiro to move away and prepares for a domain clash. He throws Tanjiro clear and activates his domain. Tengen's domain is sound-based. Any sound inside it turns into crushing pressure that tears the body apart. It's essentially pure sound waves with a guaranteed hit effect. Gyutaro's domain is similar to Sukuna's, but weaker in raw power. Instead, it's infused with poison. If Tengen gets hit too many times, he'll die. This poison is far stronger than anything seen before. They clash domains, and Gyutaro wins. Gyutaro is simply stronger, and Tengen doesn't have reverse curse technique. He's blown away by the clash and nearly killed inside Gyutaro's domain. Tanjiro steps in. Because of his cursed technique, he unlocks reverse cursed technique and, more importantly, the rare ability to use it on others. Only a few sorcerers can do this. Tanjiro uses it on Tengen, restoring most of his body and regenerating lost limbs. Though scars remain, Tengen is forced out of the fight. Tanjiro takes over against Gyutaro. From watching Tengen fight, Tanjiro already figured out Gyutaro's weakness and uses it to his advantage. Gyutaro tries to trap Tanjiro in his domain again, but Tanjiro activates domain amplification instead. The domain can't affect him directly, and Gyutaro can't sustain another expansion. They continue fighting, and Tanjiro gains the upper hand. The selfless state makes him nearly unhittable. With his Demon Slayer mark active, Tanjiro defeats Gyutaro with Inosuke's help. Daki is finished off easily. After the arc ends, Tanjiro doesn't fall into a coma. Instead, he continues training, refining his reverse cursed technique, sun breathing, and overall combat skill. From there, he moves on to the Swordsmith Village arc. So, I'm gonna skip most of the dialogue. He still trains with the doll, still meets Mitsuri, meets Muichiro, and still meets Genya. We skip all the parts where Muichiro clamps his nose. Muichiro still gets blasted away, and Tanjiro still fights Hantengu, the 4 emotion clones, with Genya and Nezuko. This time, Tanjiro can help them with reverse curse technique and using it on other people, which is one of the rarest abilities in JJK. So Tanjiro is obviously beating the shit out of all of them, and they're forced to bring out the main emotion clone much earlier. With that, Genya is now stronger, so Genya and Tanjiro are holding off the main emotion clone together. Nezuko goes to find the main body and kill it. Meanwhile, Mitsuri comes back, sees the village chief, and helps fight the main emotion clone. She doesn't really need her domain here, but I don't have a great cursed technique idea for her, so don't be harsh in the comments. Her cursed technique is going to be similar to Luffy's devil fruit. She can stretch her body, become more flexible, and fight like rubber, so she holds off the main emotion clone, while the others defeat the main body. Meanwhile, Muichiro is fighting Upper Moon 5, Gyoko. Muichiro's cursed technique is mist-based. He can manipulate mist like an airbender, and the mist has a long-term effect that makes his opponent forget more and more over time. Muichiro and Gyoko fight after Muichiro gets his new sword, and they clash domains. Gyoko's domain is extremely overpowered, designed to kill instantly if it lands. Muichiro's domain is similar to what we saw with his final attack, filling the area with mist and letting him appear from anywhere with a sure hit effect. They clash domains. Muichiro wins because he's stronger, and he kills Gyoko. He takes Tanjiro's new sword and throws it to him so he can finish off the final body. After that, we move into the Hashira training arc, but it never really happens here. Instead, we get a natural training arc since they don't really need all that. I'm gonna go over the rest of the Hashira's cursed techniques and domains now, so I don't have to explain them in the Infinity Castle arc. Shinobu's main technique is her poison. She can pinpoint exact spots, and her poison is unique to her cursed technique. Even upper moon demons can't counter it, because their bodies don't recognize it at all. Her domain expansion fills the area with poison, and pierces the opponent with a sure hit effect. Now Gayome, I didn't want to give him heavenly restriction like Maki or Toji, even though it would fit. Instead, his cursed technique gives him a superhuman body, boosting his strength massively and making him feel like a wall. His domain forces a one-on-one fight where his opponent is severely weakened, and he lands sure hit attacks. He also has reverse curse technique. Sanemi also has reverse curse technique. His curse technique is invisible wind slashes that tear apart the body. His domain is a violent windstorm that constantly cuts the opponent with a sure hit effect, though it's weaker than some other domains. Every hit Sanemi lands disrupts the enemy's cursed energy flow, making their technique unstable. Inside his domain, opponents struggle to use cursed techniques at all. It's similar to Dead Calm, where attacks can't reach him while he lands guaranteed hits. Now Obanai. His cursed technique traps opponents in illusions, making them feel constantly restrained. His domain is like a maze where he controls the battlefield. It's not a guaranteed hit, but it's extremely close because he knows the layout and disrupts cursed energy flow. After that, we move into the Infinity Castle arc. The master dies, the estate is destroyed, and Muzan traps everyone inside the Infinity Castle. So looking at the final arc, we basically only have Akaza, Doma, and Kokushibo, just like the original timeline. Kaigaku gets promoted to Upper Moon 6, and the Biwa woman, Nakimi, gets promoted as well by Muzan. So we get mostly the same matchups as the original timeline. Tanjiro and Giyu versus Akaza happens again, so let's go over that. Tanjiro and Giyu can't win an all-out domain war with Akaza. Even Rengoku said Akaza has overwhelming power, and anyone who fully clashes domains with him is going to lose, since he's stronger than any Hashira. Because of that, Tanjiro and Giyu try to end the fight quickly. Giyu already has reverse curse technique, and Tanjiro has just unlocked it. Tanjiro would beat Akaza much earlier in this timeline because of his memory and his ability to stay in the selfless state. Giyu is also naturally stronger here, and if needed, he could clash domains with Akaza just to cancel it out, even if he loses. Akaza still loses in this scenario. After Upper Moon 3 is defeated, we move on to Doma. This fight is very different. Shinobu is far stronger in this timeline than she was originally, because her poison can't be countered at all. Doma's body can't adapt to it, and he knows that. Doma goes all out immediately and tries to kill Shinobu, but Shinobu is one of the fastest Hashira ever. Even if Doma uses his domain, the poison is already in his system, so it doesn't matter. Doma eventually dies from Shinobu's poison. Kokushibo is a much harder fight. With Gyomei, Sanemi, Muichiro, and Genya, it becomes a brutal battle. Genya still doesn't have a cursed technique, but Muichiro's mist helps confuse Kokushibo. Gyomei takes most of the damage, acting as the backbone of the team, while Sanemi supports him. Muichiro survives, and together they overwhelm Kokushibo. If Kokushibo uses his domain, Gyomei is the only one who can truly contest it. Gyomei would be forced to use reverse curse technique heavily after taking damage. They win, but with more injuries than before. Sanemi and Gyomei survive, thanks to reverse cursed technique, and Tanjiro can heal Muichiro and Genya using his reverse cursed technique on others. Kaigaku versus Zenitsu happens next. Zenitsu wins easily. The Biwa woman is still taken over by Yushiro, with help from Mitsuri and Obanai. We then move into the Sunrise Countdown arc. Muzan kills Nakime, and Yushiro pulls everyone out of the Infinity Castle. Muzan could use his domain, but there are too many fighters. Even if he kills one Hashira, there are still too many left. Tanjiro reveals the 13th form, guided by Yorichi's memories, with all the Hashira backing him up. With the Demon Slayer marks active and Muzan weakened by the drug, they overwhelm him. Shinobu's poison continues damaging Muzan, while Giyu and Inosuke tank hits when needed. Muzan is defeated. After the fight, Giyu and Shinobu get together, and Mitsuri and Obanai do as well. They all still die before age 25. Tanjiro also dies young because he awakened the Demon Slayer mark back in the entertainment district against Gyutara. Kanao and Tanjiro still end up together. Muichiro survives past 25. Genya lives, Sanemi lives, Zenitsu lives, and Giyu lives. I hope you guys enjoyed this timeline. Go watch What If Tanjiro Became the Demon King from the Start. It's one of my favorite videos I've ever made. Click it right now.